Welcome to the monthly Speaking Up series of the International Commission for Human Rights and Religious Freedom. My name is Dr. Adityanji, and I am the president and the chairperson of the board of directors of International Commission for Human Rights and Religious Freedom. So every month on the third Saturday of the month, we do this activity, and we have today Kofi Sarpong. Kofi Sarpong is the Director for Outreach for Africa region for International Commission for Human Rights. He also runs an import-export company. He's a multifaceted individual who is interested in spirituality, philosophy, human rights. Kofi Sarpong did write a report on the conflict in Tigray region in the West Africa, and that report was published approximately 6 weeks ago on the website of ICHRRF. And unfortunately, whatever suggestions he had given for intervention and to stop the ongoing genocide and conflict has not been sort of, adhered to. So we still continue to have conflict. It's a very complex conflict involving at least 4 different parties and international actors. So without further ado, I am going to give the floor to Kofi. Unfortunately, his computer is not working, so he's joined us by a phone line, and we will just try to, work with him as far as the, presentation is concerned. So, Kofi, floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Dr. Adityanji. I'm also very, very glad and very happy to join you today and give a little bit more explanation and what is also going on within the East African region, the Tigray war between Ethiopia and some war I'll call probably the Eritrean. What it is I have, like I said, like the article that I wrote, you look into that. I did quite a lot of few research, and I also spoke to a few people, and I came to realize that most of these conflicts that is happening within Africa, have got some fundamental basics, among them. So it is quite ironic that we talk about it. First of all, I'll probably say it's just unfortunate that Africa has been going through some of these wars, for some time now. And it's just sad that it keeps happening, on, and it never ends. Right. So a little bit more into the conflict between the Tigray people and Ethiopia. And what it is apparently there is the Tigray people used to be the powerhouse of Ethiopia, and they were more powerful within the administration side of things. And a few things changed, and how tribal and ethnic conflict is like in Africa, where people are more in line with their tribal sentiments, and not much of the religion, but a lot of the tribes. Basically, their African religion seems to be very, very synonymous. So you don't have a lot of religious conflicts in Africa. It's all on tribal lines. So What it is, the Tigray people, like I said, used to be, power dominant, and until recently the power changed. And if you look at the map, the Tigray people are close to the border with Eritrea. That means that there are a lot of the families within the Tigray section of Ethiopia are also Eritreans, and you find this a lot in most Africa. So within the border countries, you find that there's one family living at the other side of the country, and another family also living at the other side of the country. So you have the same family. Part of them are Ethiopians, and part of them are Eritreans. So whenever there is such conflicts, what happens is the tribal sentiment kicks in. So you find one country, at loggerheads with the other country, because they have both citizens and families on both ends, and that is just unfortunate that these things do happen. So going much into the conflict, looking into it, you realize that when there was a power change, Eritrea used to have some sort of military presence within the border town within the Tigray region, which is the border town of Ethiopia. And the Ethiopian government decided that, look, no, it's not going to happen. They have to leave. And this is where some of these conflicts came about. And it's just unfortunate that it happened that way. But all the same, looking back into the conflicts as well, you realize that it bears, in my article, you realize that I said that it bears the hallmark of, some of these wars in West African countries like Sierra Leone and Liberia. And, recently I also even did a few research into how some of these conflicts, nearly happened between Ghana and Ivory Coast. So, for example, in Ghana, the Ashantis are very, very dominant within the West African region, and they stretch as far back as into Togo, across Ghana and the northern part of Ghana, and then also at the western part of Ghana, which goes all the way into Ivory Coast. And then they had a leader called Fufu Boahen, who was an Ashanti, and he had allegiance to the Ashanti king. And at some point, it nearly triggered a lot of some of these things, conflict between even Ghana and Ivory Coast. But fortunately, it didn't happen, which is a good thing. So Africa has always been like that. Now let's get back into the main conflict with Ethiopia and Eritrea and the Tigray region. The Tigray people are now seriously advocating for some sort of independence, and the Ethiopia people are also resistant due to a change in leadership there and things not working out. But at the moment, whichever way it has happened, there's atrocities going on, which nobody is happy about it. People are being killed, and women and children. I think I'm even hearing that there's some sort of child soldier. Children are being enlisted to fight on the war in the Tigray region, because a lot of the young men, have lost their lives. People have fled, and women have also fled, which is very, very serious. So at this point, what we want to do is we want to tell the world that, look, these things have to happen. And in all fairness, within all these wars, we realize and we notice one thing, that it's only dialogue that really actually solves the war and nothing else. So what is a very good opportunity that our institution with the ICH is getting involved with trying to help resolve this conflict and bring the world's attention to what is going on. And we all know that Ethiopia is very, very powerful, and it's a mighty country. And if it goes into full-blown war, we can just imagine that it might even affect the whole of the East African region. You can even get South Sudan getting involved. Djibouti could also get involved. Somalia, which was in war recently, they could also be involved, and we do not want that sort of conflict, escalating and bringing the whole East Africa into it. It will be very, very deadly. Yeah. So on the other side, on the humanitarian side of things, what my research and what my resource people are telling me that it is very, very serious. It's a dire need for humanitarian assistance. But at this moment, it's very, very difficult because the government is trying to block a lot of things. So what they are doing is that they are going through Eritrea to try and get humanitarian assistance from there to help the Tigray people. And so I think our ICHRRF, I think should try and do the best I can, so we can bring the world's attention to this conflict as it happens. I mean, if possible, we should be able to try and do the best that we can to end it, whichever means possible. Right. So, coming to get the solution to try and end this conflict. The best that has always happened has always been dialogue, discussions, sit on the table. We've all recognized that military intervention doesn't help. Either way, when you send military intervention in there, it only pauses the war, but then people go back, rearm themselves, reorganize themselves, and then as soon as the military intervention, whether it's from the United Nations or whether it's from peacekeepers, from whatever, as soon as they leave, the conflict starts again of some sort. So the best solution is we have to find an ending solution to this problem once and for all. So I think that the best thing to do right now is to get the parties involved to sit down and dialogue, whichever way that they can, because the dialogue actually did work during the Liberia conflict and also the Sierra Leone conflict, where the parties were brought onto the table and they sat down, they discussed. A new government was formed, a transitional government was formed, and then afterwards elections happened. They had free and fair elections. And from there, things started getting back to normal. So within the shortest possible time, it will be very, very good that first of all, ceasefire. We use the best resources and the tools that we can to let the United Nations or the West African countries like ECOWAS and ECOMOG, like I said in my article, we get them involved to try and bring some short-term stability there, so that women and children can come back and they can start their lives normal. Because if you look at there are some pictures in my article that I wrote that I think I'll be sharing very soon. It is very, very, very horrific, very, very horrific. And this morning I was just reflecting on the war that happened in Chad way back in the 1980s. I quite remember I was a very, very young boy growing up, and I saw a lot of refugees coming from Chad all the way into Ghana, and I could see children being maimed, their limbs, taken off. There was this small baby that I saw that she was being breastfed by the mom, but she had no mouth. I think for whatever reason, the doctors had to create a hole on the other side, that is on the chin, so that this baby can actually feed. And some of these pictures are very, very horrific. And unfortunately, I was just reading through some of my articles, and then I remember this story, and I said, look, I'm going to share it with or the members that are going to join today is very horrific. We don't want to see that. So I'll probably say I'm very glad I've been given the opportunity. And at this point, I'll say that if there is any questions that needs answering, I'm more happy to answer. And if there is anything that anybody wants to know, please go ahead. I think I'll be very good with that, rather than just going on and talking and talking and talking.
Thank you very much indeed, Kofi, for briefly summarizing the problem of ongoing conflict and genocide in the Tigray province of Ethiopia. I think amongst our audience, we have a distinguished guest. His name is Professor Vednanda. Professor Vednanda is also the chairperson of International Advisory Board for ICHRRF. And I know that he has published some op-ed pieces in Denver Post. So I may request Professor Nanda to say a few words on this conflict and how to resolve the conflict. Professor Nanda, if you can join us, please.
Thank you, Aditya. And Kofi, thank you very, very much for your very insightful comments. My only question for you is, what do you see next as you use your own crystal ball from the United States? They have been simply asking both sides to calm down and asking all the outsiders to leave the country. But there is presently a great deal of, as you mentioned, and as we all know, humanitarian kind of crisis. So I would very much like to hear what your thoughts are about the future.
Thank you very much, Professor. One thing about the conflicts that is happening across Africa and currently in Ethiopia, you see, the West, when you go very detailed, you realize that the West always have a hand in it, right? Now, looking at the Liberia War, the Sierra Leone War, and Angola, I quite remember Angola also, there was war in Angola. Now, all these three wars that I actually did a few research into it, and even talking to some people, especially Liberia and Sierra Leone, it had to do with natural resources, diamond, right? So what happened was you realize that the West, some of these Westerners were actually involved in the natural resources of the diamonds that was coming out from there, and they wanted it for themselves. So sometimes when these things are happening, they know that they are happening. To get them involved is very, very, very slow. You can go to the United Nations and talk. They will tell you, oh, we have to go to the government, we have to do this, we have to do that, and they have to go to a whole lot of protocol, because most of the time, and I'm not saying all the time, but most of the time, there is some sort of natural resources involved that they are exploiting. So at the end of the day, it's very, very difficult to get them. They'll get involved when they feel like they want to get involved. Believe me, the U.S. is the most powerful army in the world. They can just easily go there in less than 2 weeks and try and end this conflict militarily and bring stability, whilst they sit down to try and get this dialogue and things going. But they won't get involved because they will say, like, first of all, they are going to give you so many excuses, for not getting involved in that. You see what I'm saying? And what happens because of that? It takes a long time, because some of these people who are underneath the war and making it happen, they go there, they invest money into natural resources. They want to exploit it. They want to make sure that they get whatever they want before they get out of there. So you can just imagine, where in Africa we don't produce weapons. We haven't got factories that are producing weapons. Where did they get some of these weapons to fight each other? So it is very, very difficult. All of these things are imported from the West. You see what I'm saying? So on the other hand, we still have to push the United Nations, the U.S., and especially what I would try to advocate is that let us push the African Union. because the African Union is now becoming a very, very powerful tool to use because everything is affecting them. They know that it's affecting them, directly. So they would like to get involved and try and end this conflict. For example, the Liberia and the Syrian war, Ghana had to send so many troops in there. And wherever the troops were, there was a lot of peace within that area, which really helped a lot. And because of that, a lot of the Liberians started going back home, and a lot of the Syrians started going back home. And then when the ECOMOG and ECOWAS also started getting involved in some parts, especially within the border regions, you realize that you notice that there was peace in there, right? So with the Tigray war, you find that Eritrea has troops within the border town to protect their tribal people. That is what I have identified in this war, and is trying to trigger into some sort of like Eritrea Ethiopian war kind of thing. You see what I mean? So right now, the best thing that has to happen is that from my side of things and from what my experience and what I've researched into is that the Eritreans have to withdraw their troops back. Okay, the Ethiopians also have to do same. Now let us get. We shouldn't get an army within the East African region. I'll suggest that we get an army outside of the East African region because they border each other, Sudan, Somalia, and that sort of. Once you get armies from those places, to get there, because the tribal sentiment, it will trigger something else. Because by the time you realize, they will start accusing each other of so many things. So on my side of things, I will suggest that we get independent. So let us say we can go to Asia and, try and if there's an Asian community or something like an Asian union, like we have African Union, we should try and push them to say, look, you need to go and help these Africans. We need military intervention or we need humanitarian intervention. So they are very independent. They have no hand in the conflict. So they go there with open heart and open mind. I think it will bring a lot of stability if we use that.
Thank you, Kofi.
Thank you very much.
Professor Nanda, do you have any other comments?
No, actually, thank you very much. I think, unfortunately, African Union most of the time has not been a very active player, and that is unfortunate because African Union should take a much stronger stand than it does. But thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Nanda. I will invite questions from the audience using chat function. The first question is coming from Mr. Carl Clemens, but before I take that question, I'm going to invite one of our guests who is also working very closely with International Commission for Human Rights. He is Professor Yeshwant Pathak. He has direct experience into the process of conflict resolution and mediation, and he has been working with several institutions in that process. Professor Pathak, would you like to give some suggestions using your experience in conflict resolution and conflict mediation about what the whole world should be doing to resolve this conflict? Professor Pathak, you'll have to unmute yourself. Well, I will go for the question that has been raised by Carl Clemens because Professor Pathak is not available right now somehow. The question is from Mr. Carl Clemens, who is the Executive Director of ICHRRF and does really hard work for us. And his question to Kofi Sarpong is, there is a conflict between Somalis and Ethiopians. Eritrean kinsmen are kinsmen to Somalis and Ethiopians, and some Somalis are settled in Kenya. Basically, the thrust of the question is whether the conflict is tribal only or there's a religious angle to it also.
Yeah, hello. Sorry, can I come in?
Yes.
Yeah. Like I said, in the first speech that I gave, you notice that it's kind of like a vicious circle kind of thing within the region because of the tribalism associated with it. So what you realize is that it always comes back to the same thing. The answer to Carl's question is this: it's tribal, and it might become a regional kind of thing. You see, it might become a regional kind of thing. So we have to handle it very, very, very carefully, because right now, like he said there's already war already in Somalia, okay, of some sort. There's Southern Sudan and Southern Sudan. They haven't actually finished with theirs, even though we don't hear so much of it, but it's still kind of hanging in there. And then you have the Eritrea and Ethiopia the Tigray kind of tribal, coming in. So it's that sort of, vicious kind of thing. That is why I was trying to say that we should get outsiders to get involved. Okay, we should, probably get a European, but the Europeans, they won't go in. I'm not sure about that, but I think they won't go in because they haven't got anything to win over there. And so, Asia is now becoming one of the powerful continents right now, and their voice is also being heard very, very much at the moment. Especially around this time, we should also give them the chance, because when it comes to the West, we've always known, in the end, what happens if they are not getting anything from there. They won't get involved, and though they have the military might, and I think the Africans are also a little bit kind of like they've had enough of the Western colonization kind of things. They come in there and then they have their own agenda. Especially, they want to promote their own religious beliefs. I'm not saying that, but we have to also look into that as well. So they tend to reject them. You see what I'm saying? Because of the experience that they have had, in the past. So from the answer to Carl's question is that it's kind of like a vicious circle kind of thing. So we have to tackle it very, 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 very carefully. If not, it will spiral out of control. So that is the only thing I can say. I hope your question is answered, Carl.
Yeah, I think to a large extent.
Yes, go ahead, Carl.
No, to a large extent it is. I was just wondering whether the religious angle is prominent as well, because with Somalis and Ethiopians, or Eritreans and Ethiopians, there's also a religious divide, and with Somali settlers in Kenya, there is again a religious divide that seems to be playing up. So I was wondering how big a factor that is. Tribalism is definitely a factor, but I was just wondering whether the religious angle is also prominent.
The religious angle has always been slightly a problem when it comes to, and I'm not saying that it's the religious people's fault, especially when it comes to the Christianity and the Muslims. Okay, there has always been that sort of conflict in there, where there is a predominant Muslim community within a country, and there's also another predominant religion within another country, like Christianity. They always come to a loggerhead. You see what I'm saying? But when it comes to the African traditional religion itself, which is very, very synonymous to our to Hinduism and Sanatana Dharma and all of that, which have delved into that, you notice that there aren't that problems in there. Even my own country, Ghana, where I come from, you notice that there are almost about 20 to 50 different tribes, and when you study carefully, their traditional religion has always been almost the same. So they are able to solve conflict using some of their tribe, their religious leaders. Okay, they come in and they're able to solve the problem, and it's so amazing that works. It works seriously. You see what I'm saying? And so I don't know much about the Ethiopia, Somalia, and that sort of thing, but I know that they have the same kind of traditional religious kind of beliefs. So if we can tap into using that sort of thing very, very effectively, it will help in solving a lot of these wars. Because I quite remember when the Uganda war happened between the Tutsis and the between the Tutsis and the whatever they call them. Sorry about that. What happened was, in the end, when there was peace, they brought two different tribes together, and they performed a traditional ceremony. Right? They used eggs, and the eggs signify some sort of unity among them. And the atrocities that they committed against each other, they did that, and it brought an everlasting peace. They used that traditional religious kind of thing. They did the ceremony. They made them stand on they crush some eggs, using some kind of traditional prepared food, and they did that sort of thing. And it looks like everybody, had some sort of remorse, forgive each other. They forgave each other, and they started living as a community together. And now Uganda is becoming one of the most powerful forces in Africa. And so traditionally, the traditional way of things also do work a lot if we are going to be able to tap into that.
Thank you. I think that was really, really insightful, because I did remember the Hutus and the Tutsis making peace using traditional, African religion. They gifted cows to one another and so forth. So I think it's not just tribalism, but it's also the religious ideology taps into tribalism. I think that makes a difference. Thanks a lot, Kofi.
You're welcome.
So if there are any more questions from the audience, please send them through the chat function. While I'm waiting for more questions, Kofi, I have a query for you. So essentially you are saying that it has to be African-led peace process, and probably African Union along with ECOMOG or ECOWAS would be the best player. Is there a need for calling an African Union-led peace conference on Tigray at this juncture, inviting all the four parties, which is the government of Ethiopia, government of Eritrea, the representatives of the Tigray region, and other tribal, Sampara or whatever tribal people are there in the region, African-led peace conference?
Yes, African-led peace conference have had a lot of weight in it, because Africans understand Africans to some extent and to a greater extent, and Africans are able to dialogue and also work with their own Africans, making them understand in a certain way that really works. You see, because of our traditional way that we are being brought up. We have some sort of, like, for example, I'll give you an example from Ghana and West Africa. If there's a conflict between two families, there is always a head family member who will come in and say, look, what is going on? What is the problem? Okay, me being so and so, I say that this is what has to happen. Okay, you forgive this person forgives this person. Okay, this person is wrong, this person is right. Let us use our traditional way of dealing with things, and let us resolve this. Okay, we don't want it to go out of control. And 90% of the time it has worked, even from the family side of things, from the social side of things, from the community side of things. It has absolutely worked to a greater extent. Now, whereby you bring too many foreign interventions, foreigners, sometimes the understanding is not very deep, because the West has been brought up in such a way that they are more homogeneous than we the Africans. We think on a greater scale. I see somebody from Nigeria as being a brother to me, despite that he comes from another country. But from my experience in the West, the Westerners know that, look, apart from me and my wife and my mom and my dad, that's it. I don't know anybody else. If there's a conflict, I take it to court, and then the issue get resolved in court. But in Africa, we don't do that. So to some extent, you notice that sort of thing really works. And if it works to that level, I believe that it will also work on a country level. So let us get some leaders within the African region. Okay, it's unfortunate that Kofi Annan is no longer, he's one of the most respectable leaders. He's no longer there, but he could have been one of the greatest resources that we could have used, to try and help in this conflict. So what I'm saying is that let us tap into that sort of thing and see how best we can use it. Because if you try it, it will work.
Okay, okay. Any more questions from the audience? I'm not getting anything on the chat function. Anyone has any questions?
Namaste. This is Raj Kaul from ICHRRF, and thank you, Kofi, for the presentation. Appreciate it. I had a question regarding, myself being a Kashmiri Hindu who had to face the religious persecution and ethnic cleansing, and had to leave our roots and home and restart our lives as a community. And one of the observations I have is the ethnic indigenous communities all over the world, like us being Kashmiri Hindus who are the original inhabitants of Kashmir, and had to leave our homeland because of the religious persecution. And I see the similar pattern which has happened, and unfortunately in Africa, where the pagan, the faith was, eroded or through violence or through persecution. And is there a need for the indigenous communities all over the world to come together and create a platform where they can really talk about their roots and the source, and come together as a force? Just would like to hear some comments from you about that.
Yes, that is very true, and thank you very much for that. Yes, we have always tried to advocate for something like that. So, for example, in Ghana, there has been conflict between the Muslims and the Christians. Okay, and every time this conflict has escalated, it has always been the traditional religious people, like the chiefs and the queens and all of those that have actually resolved these issues. They have called them to sit them down, both the religious leaders, to sit them down and say, look, this is not what we're doing on our land. You see what I'm saying? So they view Christianity and Islam and the Western kind of religion as being foreign. You see what I'm saying? So using it to resolve conflict has never worked. That's why in the beginning I said that we can get military, we can get the United Nations to send troops, whether they are from the US, whether they are from the UK, whether they are from Canada, to go in there. But the point is that is the shortest, way to, within a short term to try and, cool things down. But in the long term, we should try and focus on getting some of these traditional people within the African region. Let us create a platform whereby we can bring them together. Let us create a union for them. Let us say, for example, within West Africa, we have the kingship. Ghana has a king. I think Nigerians also have a kingdomship of some sort. Okay, and I think in some of the other countries, let us create a platform whereby these people can be brought together and be in one room to discuss how best we can use them to resolve some of these conflicts. Because they, like I said, they can tap into their traditional people and say, hey, stop this. Because their traditional people and the people on the land, they have more allegiance to their kings and their queens and their tribal leaders, more than the foreign troops or the foreign discussion that is going on at the United Nations or that is going on somewhere around the world. They don't want to get involved in that, because they have had issues with them being Christians or Muslims and whatever, because they think that once they start coming in, they bring their religious sentiments, and in all fairness, it rather escalates the whole thing. On the ground level, it escalates the whole thing. And, they think that, look, these people have come in, like the slave masters, this again, and this is what they want to come and do. And no, we don't want to accept that. But, for example, supposing Kofi Annan is going there to talk to them, they know that Kofi Annan is an African. He's not coming in there to come and preach religion, right? But if you send somebody from the West, the first thing that comes out of his discussion and everything is the fact that he's going to deviate into that sort of religious sort of thing, and then that one doesn't help at all. So that on that point, I think I hope that this answers your question.
Okay, any more questions? I will request the audience to send the questions through chat functions rather than speaking it. If there are questions, we have some time to address the questions. So Kofi, will there be a role for ICHRRF in conjunction maybe with some of the other organizations that do, mediation and conflict resolution, like Institute of Conflict Resolution and Ethnic Mediation in New York, which is led by Dr. Basi Lugorji, who is of Nigerian, origin, to prod the African Union to, arrange a peace conference, essentially an African-led peace process.
Yes, there is always room for ICHRRF. There is always room for us if we put it forward. So, for example, with this conflict and me being part of the organization, if there's something going on, we can send them a letter to say, hey, we are going to send our representatives to come in there and throw more light into it, and we hope he can also help, just like I'm doing right now, and we can also start to do things like that and let it and showcase ourselves to let them know that, okay, for example, ICHF, RF is around the globe. It's not only for a certain group of people. Okay, so when we showcase ourselves in that manner, I think it will throw more light, and we can also do more. We can voice out more, because, for example, some of the facts that I have and some of the things that I'm saying is a lot of them are from personal experience, which a lot of people don't have. A lot of people from West don't have it. So me being from ICHRRF, I could go in there and with the help of everybody, let them know that we exist. We can also help in our own way by getting our own people from the ground to contribute towards ending some of these conflicts.
Okay, very good. There's another question, and it is from Carl Clemens. It says that China is heavily invested in infrastructure development in Africa. Is China also active in mediating political conflicts, or it is keeping government stable there? Do you have any information on that?
Yes, I do have information about China being in Africa very heavily, but China being there is only for natural resources and nothing else, from what I've heard. So with China getting involved, they are going to be looking at where their interest lies. Okay, so where their interest lies is where they are going to get deeply involved. Apart from that, I don't see China doing anything like, oh, we are getting involved because we want an everlasting peace. No, I don't see China like that. From my own personal experience, because even in Ghana, we've had a lot of problems with the Chinese people. They've destroyed our rivers, because they are mining gold, they are mining diamonds, and a lot of them have been arrested and imprisoned. And that's all they know. That, but for the real peace in Africa and that sort of thing, look, I can tell you that it's a no for them. We have lived with the Indian community for a very, very long time. And trust me, I can tell you that 99% of the time we've never had issues with the Indian community from Ghana. You never hear that Indian is being prosecuted or get taken to prison because of some of these things. They come there, they do business, they do it genuinely. They don't get involved in conflict. They don't get involved in religious things and stuff like that. And I quite remember that one of the times Swami Gananand from Ghana was saying to the Indians that were in Ghana that your religion is very, very good. I know that you've come here for business, but you have not done enough to try and also propagate your religion, because your religion is synonymous to African traditional religions. So he was even advocating that Sanatana Dharma being one of the most peaceful religions to practice, why they should have done enough to try and teach the Africans, because they were not taking anything out of the Africans. They were actually, Sanatana Dharma really actually put the icing on the cake of whatever Africans have been practicing for so many years. And in Kenya, I quite remember there was also another story about the Kenyans. They were working in some of these temples and some of these Hindu mandirs, but they were not allowed to come in and get involved with the worship and everything. And Swami Gananand was like, no, you should allow these people because what they are doing is synonymous to what you people have also been practicing. So, and wherever you found the dominance of the Hindu culture and the Hindu religion and Sanatana Dharma in Africa, there has been less conflict, and I can say that because South Africa is an example. I know that recently, there have been Kenya. They have not had, major conflicts, and some of these countries as well. So I can say that, it really does help. I hope this answers your question.
Thank you. There is another question, and I'm going to read the question. It is from Rishi Aneja, who is a young attorney practicing in Karnataka High Court in Bengaluru. His question is, my question is regarding the political organization in Africa in 21st century, looking ahead to the 22nd century, political consolidation such as East African Union being a sovereign country has been mooted for some time. Are there any other proposed regional political unions that are suggested, and will such consolidation have effect on ameliorating future conflicts? A stronger political union may bring more economic growth. Higher economic growth rates have shown to reduce even ethnic and tribal conflicts. Kofi?
I'm not aware that of anything that has been created within the East African region to try and resolve some of these conflicts, because East Africa weren't so much into these conflicts, for some time now. It's just been recently that we've seen Sudan, being divided, and now the Ethiopians and Eritreans, within this Tigray war, and Somalia also had their own sort of, a few skirmishes here and there. So they have not, I'll probably say, all the way coming back from the 1960s, 70s, all the way down. They haven't had some of these issues. I don't think they have given a thought, that something like this should happen. But this opens a platform for something like this to be created. So we have that sort of regional sort of thing to always address some of these conflicts. So it would be a very, very good idea that we propose something like that as well.
Okay. Any more questions from the audience? I know that our German Director of Outreach, Dirk Ling, has joined. Dirk, do you have any questions for Kofi?
So hello, good day to you all. So I recently connected to you. So we started right now at 17, right?
Yeah.
Okay. No, I'm not. I don't have any questions right now. I just want to listen.
Okay, actually, we are coming towards the end of the presentation. We are concluding the discussion. So I'm sorry you missed it, majority of the part. But if you have any questions, we have a couple of minutes to entertain some questions.
Okay. No, not yet.
Okay. Anyone from the audience? If there are no questions from the audience, I will, assure you, Kofi, on behalf of ICHRRF, that we might take a more active, but not interventionist role. The active role would be trying to bring the parties together with other international organizations. So this senseless conflict, which really started as a small regional tribal conflict, has widened to the extent that people are losing lives for no essential reason at all. And it is ironic that the Tigray Regional Liberation Front leaders, they were ruling the whole country of Ethiopia till they lost power. So there is some background about, geopolitical issues, that a party that loses power gets into conflict with the government that follows. But I think the resolution has to be sought through the offices of African Union. It has to be an African-led, African-owned, and African-directed peace process in that particular region. but on behalf of ICHRRF, we might bring some conflict mediation and conflict resolution agencies to the service of African Union so that further loss of life can be stopped. I thank our speaker, Kofi Sarpong, for highlighting the ongoing problems and conflict in the region. I also thank all our audiences who are taking time on a Sunday morning here in US and probably afternoon in Europe and evening in India who have joined here. So thank you all for your participation. And we hope that this sad incident will be resolved soon, and we will do our level best to, bring about mediation in the conflict. So thank you all. Since there are no questions, we will be ending this program. Thank you very much. The program
Thank you
has
very
been
much.
recorded and will be found uploaded on our website within the next 24 hours.
Okay, so last statement. Sorry for the time shift. I had an information that this would be 5 p.m. started, so maybe it's a problem from my side. I'm sorry, but I also have looked further from this conflict. You have made this day to day this information, and I would like to look the whole view you said. It's in 24 hours. I can see it again, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Wonderful. Sounds good. Good. Okay. So sorry for the delay.
Okay. Thank you very much again, everyone. And we thank our esteemed speaker, Kofi Sarpong, for enlightening us with what is going on and persuading us to take some more activist role so that this conflict can be stopped. Thank you, everyone. We are going to end the meeting now.
Thank you.